Well, it looks like Ripple just went over 3 today when it comes to the judges in this Ripple versus the SEC case. So I'm gonna review what 3 rulings just came down today, how much time is actually going to be added to this case because they involve delays and extensions, as always. And we're going to talk about why the judge just denied Ripple in getting some of those important notes, and then what we're waiting for. And also, Elon Musk is continuing to try to take over Twitter, and by doing this, he said he's actually going to be making a tender offer. So I'm going to talk about what that actually means and what that's going to do for the shareholders of Twitter. Hey everyone, my name is Randy, and welcome back to the Late Night Grind. Right now on this channel, we are covering the Ripple versus the SEC case, but I'm also covering cryptocurrency news, investment markets, and personal finance. So if any or all these topics interest you, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button and join the Late Night Grind community. Also, if you do 3 things, I'd appreciate it. Smash the thumbs up button, watch the video all the way to the end, and check out my Patreon, link in the description below. All right, guys, let's jump into it. And so first thing I wanted to mention what Elon Musk just did in announcing on Twitter that he's going to be making a tender offer. And most people do not know what that is. A tender offer is basically somebody who is interested in buying out a company or taking over a company. What they have to do is they put out there something called a tender offer, which basically means it's a public offer. It is an offer directly to the shareholders of Twitter done publicly. A lot of times this used to be done in newspaper advertisements and basically a way for the buyer to get the attention of the shareholders with the offer. So this is what he's going to be doing, and I put 2 and 2 together because just the other day I saw him tweet out "Love Me Tender" with the musical notes around it, referencing the song "Love Me Tender." Well, he was actually talking about a tender offer that he's going to be making to Twitter shareholders. So as soon as some of the news about that comes out, I'm definitely going to be covering it. What the interesting about the stock price today was that there was a very big red candle to the south, and Zero Hedge on Twitter actually asked if Elon Musk just dumped his shares of Twitter, because there was a very large dump of Twitter stock earlier in the day, and it dropped by about $1. It's about 2% very, very quickly. Nonetheless, it is still trading well above what it was before Elon Musk announced that he was holding 9.2% of Twitter. So we're definitely going to continue to follow along with this story. All right, now let's talk about the Ripple versus the SEC case. So there was actually 3 new rulings or 3 announcements that just came down today that affect Ripple. And unfortunately, it looks like all 3 of them are going against Ripple, or at least potentially going against Ripple. So the first one that got denied was Brad Garlinghouse had filed a motion to have what is known as the Estabrook notes released. The Estabrook notes were basically notes that were taken when Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple, was in a meeting with then Commissioner of the SEC, Elad Roisman. Now, those notes weren't discovered until just about a month or 2 ago, but nonetheless, Brad said, no, we want to see those notes. Those notes need to be released. And of course, the SEC said, no, those are SEC's notes. Those are privileged notes. So they went to the judge about it, and the judge ruled in favor of the SEC. That those notes are in fact privileged because even though the judge has seen these notes and she's seen what's in these notes, she believes that some of what was discussed in that meeting and what was in those notes could reveal the SEC's thought process to Brad Garlinghouse during some of those meetings, and that these notes are basically the same as all the other notes with third parties that do fact gatherings and fact findings, that they are privileged as well, and therefore this falls under the same consideration. So the SEC gets that one, and Ripple does not. The other one that the SEC just won is the Mets report. Now, if you don't know what the Mets report is, on the very last day of discovery, or what was supposed to be the very last day of discovery, the SEC submitted basically a supplemental report. This was an analytical report by someone named Dr. Metz, who was attempting to prove that when Ripple had good news, the price of XRP also made moves, thus trying to make the correlation that XRP is somehow a security because of news that was happening to Ripple. Now, if you hold XRP, you know that is maddeningly not true, because as Ripple is having wild success outside the United States, while XRP continues just to follow the price of Bitcoin and do its own thing. And so Judge Netburn ruled in favor of the SEC regarding this report. Now, she's actually not going to be allowing that original report in. And in fact, she did have some choice words regarding the SEC, and in fact criticized them for acting improperly in trying to put this report in on the very last day of discovery. But nonetheless, she didn't really penalize them for it. Here's what she did. She's basically reopening discovery until May 13th. So the SEC has until May 13th to redepose Dr. Metz and get that supplemental report submitted. Now, this does have to go on the SEC's dime, as Judge Netburn did say that the SEC will be covering all related expenses. Big deal. But she did go ahead and allow it anyway, and not only that, extended what is discovery in this case. And now let's talk about ruling number 3 that just came down, which involves, guess what? Another extension of time. This time, Judge Torres grants the extension. So the SEC is trying very, very hard to cover up these Hinman emails, which they claim is DPP, which means deliberative process privilege. Nobody can see them. These are privileged. These are SEC notes. These are important documents that nobody should see except for them. Well, Judge Netburn has ruled 3 or 4 times now that they need to turn over those documents. They're not privileged at all. Well, the SEC wants to, for the 4th time, say, no, we want to fight this, and this time they went to Judge Torres. So they said, listen, we need an extension of time to write our objection up to this DPP ruling from Judge Netburn. So Judge Torres granted it, granted 14 days for the SEC to actually write up an objection. Now, it's 14 days from the day in which Judge Netburn has to rule on a new DPP assertion from the SEC, meaning the SEC actually applied for a new DPP application. Judge Netburn has to rule on it, and once she does that, then they will have 14 additional days to file their objection. Anything to prevent these emails from coming out. What on earth is in those emails? Now, in all of these extensions, the judge continues to say that through these extensions, it's actually not delaying the overall case schedule. It's only delaying things like expert discovery, things like that. It's not necessarily affecting the overall scope and timeline of the case. So we're going to have to see, because it seems like they've been saying that for close to a year now. But nonetheless, Ripple went over 3 today. I'm sure they're not going to be happy. They're going to be filing some of their own objections. But remember back from my previous video, I mentioned that the SEC said Ripple wants to go to summary judgment right now. We've actually talked with Ripple. They want to go to summary judgment even without these Hinman emails. So if you want to go check out why the SEC and Ripple actually said that, go check out my video and watch. It's an extremely interesting commentary. And if you want to follow along with this and any of the other stories that I talk about on this channel, make sure you subscribe to the Late Night Grind. Also, in the description below is a link to my Twitter profile. You can go and follow me there. You can have a conversation with me about any of these topics. Also, coming out very shortly to my Patreon-only membership is going to be my first video, which is going to be the 3 best projects for 2022, in which I talk about which 3 blockchain projects am I the most bullish on for 2022. So if that interests you, go ahead and check out the link for my Patreon. Also, if you are new to the channel, go ahead and check out the community tab. I put up polls up there on pretty much a weekly basis. Love to get to know your guys' thoughts, not only on these stories, but also on the cryptocurrency world and financial markets, because it seems to be getting more and more interesting by the week. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end, even through my weak voice that is still recovering, as well as I do appreciate all the thumbs up, of course. And as always, I'll see you guys on the next video.